Well, thanks for this opportunity to participate in this interview. My name is Zabrina Brumme. I'm an associate professor in the Faculty of Health Sciences at Fraser University, and I'm also an associate scientist at the BC Centre for Excellence in HIV/AIDS in Vancouver, Canada. How did I get here today? Well, my career as a scientist actually started while I was an undergraduate student. I did my undergrad at the University of British Columbia in the microbiology and immunology program, and while I did that, I joined the co-op program, so I had the opportunity to work at a couple of biotech companies and research laboratories in Vancouver, and my final co-op rotation actually took place at the BC Centre for Excellence in HIV/AIDS at St. Paul's Hospital under the mentorship of Dr. Hélène Côté, who is actually the co-chair of this CAR conference where I'm being interviewed. At that time, she was working as a staff scientist in the research lab at St. Paul's. So she took me on as her co-op student, and that was almost 20 years ago. And basically, I continued along that career path, following opportunities as they came up. I have to admit that I never completely knew that I wanted to be a scientist. And if you ask me, I still will say I'm, not completely sure that this is, going to be my final career choice. But originally, my original career choice was that I wanted to become a high school teacher. I wanted to teach both biology and English literature. That was my career path at the time. I was, however, encouraged by my mentors at the BC Centre for Excellence in HIV/AIDS. One of them was Dr. Michael O'Shaughnessy, who was the founding director of the Institute. He suggested to me that, well, I could always become a teacher, but for right now, why don't I give graduate studies a try and develop my career as a scientist, a little bit further before deciding to go back to a career in teaching. So I did that. I ended up completing a PhD at UBC in experimental medicine under the direction of Richard Harrigan. My thesis focused on HIV genetics, diversity, and molecular epidemiology. Graduated in 2006. After that, I wanted to move a little bit more into biomedical HIV research, so I did a postdoc fellowship at what is now the Ragon Institute in Boston under the direction of Bruce Walker. I was there till 2009. And in 2009, I was extremely fortunate that there was a job opportunity available in my hometown because SFU had founded a new faculty, the Faculty of Health Sciences, and they were hiring a number of new faculty members at the assistant professor level, and I was able to win one of those positions. And I've been at SFU since September 2009, so I'm coming up on my 9-year anniversary as a faculty member. So the question is, what are the positive aspects of my position? There are many, so I think I'll just mention two, because otherwise I'll be here for a long time. The first positive aspect of my position is simply that I get to practice my trade, and by that I mean I get to be a scientist. I get to think deeply about questions, about problems, to find ways to solve them. And I get to, get my hands dirty with, experiments and data. And I consider those two aspects of my job the most intellectually rewarding aspects. What makes it even better is that I get to do this as part of a team of people who are just as enthusiastic as me to find answers to these questions. And what I'm talking about there is the fact that I get to work with colleagues, trainees, students, postdocs, both inside the laboratory and outside of the laboratory. For example, in the classroom, we all get to work together, put our heads together, put our hands together to try to answer research questions. So the most rewarding part of my job is to be able to pose an answer, find an answer to a question, to synthesize this into a compelling story, and to be honest, to work with really, really talented people and to watch them move forward in their careers in a very successful way. So I would say those are the best parts of my position. The question here is, what are the challenges in my position? I'd be lying if I said that there weren't any. Well, maybe I'll just mention two. One challenge is, to be quite honest, you have to kind of getting used to the feeling that you don't know very much. I would say science is all about discovering new things, figuring out new ways to answer questions, and obviously what you don't know is immensely, immensely more than what you do, and you kind of have to get used to the feeling always of being humble, admitting that you don't know all the answers, and approaching the strategies in a way where your mind is always open to learning new things, including information that might completely oppose the ideas that you would have so far. So you have to be humble and acknowledge the limitations of your knowledge, and I think that is what helps you move forward and grow. Another tough thing about being a scientist is that you actually, well, you have to be kind of tough and kind of resilient, because these days, well, there's a lot of rejection. So you have to get used to the fact that you can, pour your heart and soul into a paper, into a proposal, into an idea, and you send it out, and the reviews come back, and there's room for improvement. So you kind of gotta, suck up your ego, suck up your pride, get past, the initial rejection, look at that feedback and say, there's some truth in here, and I can turn this around. I can make it better, yeah, I would say those are the two tough everyday issues that are facing us scientists. The question is, what are my recommendations for trainees that would like to get similar positions? Well, first and foremost, my recommendation is be sure that you're excited about science, at least for now, right? Don't go to graduate school and follow this path because you don't know what else to do. So, make sure you're really, really enthusiastic about science and scientific questions and scientific inquiry before you move down this path, because I have to say it's not easy. The other, it's hard to give career advice because, the world is changing a lot. The career market is changing a lot. I would simply tell people, follow what you are interested in, and know that, unlike historically where, getting a faculty position at an academic institution was applauded as the #1 goal of everyone ever going to grad school, I would encourage people to let go of that notion and to open their minds to the extremely wide variety of opportunities that are available today to scientists that weren't available before, and to explore those opportunities and to find mentors that will help you explore those opportunities. So one of the reasons I say this is because it's sometimes I get posed the question, what is your career advice? And while I could perhaps give some career advice on how to potentially come into a role like the one I have, I'm, for example, not the correct person to ask, well, how would I, begin on a path to seek a career in industry, or seek a career in science communication, or to seek a career in policy, or in knowledge translation, or many of the other careers that are available to scientists today. So seek a wide variety of mentors that will help you personalize your career path. The question is, how do I see my career moving forward? I'll just give a short answer to this question. I am primarily I consider myself a biomedical researcher, doing a little bit of lab work and studying questions related to HIV genetics and diversity and evolution. But what I really hope to see moving forward is to have my research questions move a little bit towards the area of more translational research. I would like to see, for example, some of the discoveries that we're making in basic virology, immunology, and HIV genetics in the medium to longer term translate into knowledge that will help us design vaccines, design HIV cures, design personalized strategies for HIV treatment. So the question is, describe my typical work week. So in the last few months, my typical work week has been a little bit atypical. That is because after 8 years at SFU, I earned a sabbatical year. So since last September, I've actually been on sabbatical, and I've been using my sabbatical to think about science. So usually my work week entails teaching courses at the undergraduate level, serving on university committees. For example, I was serving as the chair of the graduate committee in my faculty, so about a certain percentage of my week was based on teaching and university committee work. But for the last year, I have had the luxury to spend all of my time thinking about research. And so what this means is that I spend a certain percent of my time every week in meetings with my research group, both a large research group meeting as well as one-on-one meeting with all of the trainees and members of my group. I spend quite a bit of the time sitting at my desk. Well, I'm answering emails, I'm writing grants, I'm writing proposals, I'm editing and drafting manuscripts, synthesizing ideas, I'm analyzing data. There's a reasonable amount of my time that's taken up with the administrative side of research, for example, financial reporting and those types of issues. Well, it doesn't happen all the time, but there have been stretches in the past few years where I'm actually still in the lab, not currently, but there was a period last year where part of my work week was going into the lab and collecting data myself. My trainees would probably smile to hear this, because I would go into the lab and I would need to ask them where things are. But yeah, so it's not always the same, it's always changing. I should obviously mention now that I'm at the Canadian Association for HIV Research Conference, so part of my work week sometimes can be fun to attend a conference or to disseminate research